2024 Nissan Z Nismo. Yes, that is the hill I am going to die on. It is Z, not Z. You call it American. I just call it wrong. Anyway, moving on. This thing naturally has more output than the regular Z. So it's got 420 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque. That's 20 more horsepower, 34 pound-feet of torque more than the regular Z. It's got bigger brakes, more chassis reinforcement, all kinds of good stuff. As one of the guys from Nissan put it, anything that was soft was made stiffer, and that's exactly what you want in a track-focused vehicle. Everything has been touched, including this transmission, and yes, it is automatic only. Now, I know that is going to be a big sticking point for many of you out there. My question is that just fans, or is that potential buyers? Now, according to Nissan's reps, the reality is customers apparently said they just wanted to focus on track times, so they were fine with the automatic. I don't know about you. If I were in the market for this car, I would probably be a little upset. I'd want the manual. The good news is Nissan said there is nothing from an engineering perspective that would stop it. So it's not like, I don't know, the Volkswagen Golf R, where the torque overwhelmed the 6-speed manual. So the manual version that you can still get in North America, well, it has the same amount of torque as last time, whereas the automatic has more of it. This thing apparently would be just the same with a 6-speed, and if customer demand is there, Nissan can and might respond. So my mission for you is, if you care enough to demand a manual and you would actually buy one, then let Nissan know. Here's what I can tell you about this automatic. It's got new clutch packs, some new tuning. It shifts faster, particularly downshifts. According to Nissan, those have been cut in half, and again, that's what you want in a track-focused vehicle. As I'm sure you can tell, I am not on the track right now. I am somewhere outside of Sonoma, California, and Sonoma Raceway, and that's where I'm heading a little bit later on. But this is a good familiarization out on these winding roads. I'm gonna tell you, it's stiff. That's probably not gonna be a surprise. This suspension tuning, they're not adaptive dampers. It's just got stiffer spring rates. Again, what was soft is now firm, and that's what you want. Does it make a good daily driver? Probably not. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that if you're buying this thing, you should really be buying it as a track-focused weapon, because it's uncomfortable. The exhaust, it kind of drones. It's not all that enjoyable, but the drive itself definitely is. But here's the thing, the regular Z, it's enjoyable out on the open road too. So again, I'm gonna say, if you don't have plans to take your Z to the track even occasionally, this probably isn't the car for you. Again, the suspension's stiff, the exhaust drones, but it's a cool car, and that to me is the thing that's always kind of set the Nismo brand apart. I had high hopes for that Sentra a handful of years ago. That was a flop. The Juke Nismo was kind of cool, and then you've got the GTR at the very top. That's like $330,000 or something crazy in Canada before freight and tax. This thing is a lot more attainable. It's something like 77 grand before tax. That's not terrible. That puts it right in the crosshairs of the Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Now, I'm not saying they are direct competitors, but they're pretty close. The Mustang, way more output. It's got that 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. It makes something like 500 horsepower and 418 pound-feet of torque. Way more than this. But again, this is track focused, and I really do feel like if you are shopping for a performance-oriented sports car, these two make pretty good rivals. I'd like to see them in a head-to-head, but a big difference, that Mustang, it has a manual transmission, and this thing doesn't. Otherwise, well, as you can see, it's a little cramped. This car is a good reminder of why so many racers out there are built like jockeys. Not a ton of headroom. I'm sure you guys are gonna get a kick out of me in a helmet in this thing a little later on, but out here on the road, it's responsive. The transmission does feel like it's shifting pretty quickly. Nissan made a big deal out of the fact that the mapping means that you don't really need to use the paddles It'll do everything it needs to very quickly and on its own. And I can tell you, I am not just making this up. It definitely feels as if that's the case. It's downshifting, it's upshifting, it's doing everything that I would want it to do. And it's doing it as soon as I dive into these corners. So that is pretty awesome. Well guys, here I am at Sonoma Raceway. As you can see, headroom is at a premium in here with the helmet on. I always tell you guys I'm about 6'3" and a bit, and yeah, this car is not made for guys and gals like me, that is for sure. But I'll tell you, this car is made for the racetrack, and I just drove the Z Performance, so the more kind of streetable version, right before I got on the track in this Z Nismo. Big difference. You can feel everything. You can feel the stiffer suspension. You can feel the tires. There's so much more grip here. You can turn in and you can just feel it biting. I feel like you can almost get into the throttle sooner in this car. Then again, maybe that's just my experience, having spent a little bit more time on the track, but that's my impression. This thing is a weapon. Down this straightaway, we're touching about 175, 180 kilometers an hour. And keep in mind, I am not a race car driver. I'm just following some good instructors here. We're coming up into the famous S's. Let off the throttle. Let the car dance, as they like to say. Tip back in. I mean, this thing is built to eat up so much time on this track. And it's doing it. I mean, I really do think that this is a very well put together car. My only question is, do you want it in manual? That's for you to decide and to let Nissan know. I mean, I'm sure you can hear it. This thing is just howling out here. All of that torque, 384 pound-feet. It's just right there under your foot. All of it is heading to the rear wheels, of course. And my question with this automatic really does come down to this idea that, sure, apparently customers told Nissan, yeah, we want it to be faster on the track. But my question is, do those tenths of a second really matter? Are they the difference? Because to me, it's all about driving feel. And this has tons of it in every other parameter. The only problem really is you can't feel what's happening with the gear changes. I will say this thing is very fast. Nissan made a big deal out of the fact that you don't need to use the paddles, and I decided to put that to the test. I have not used them at all, and this thing just knows what to do and when to do it. It's downshifting as soon as I brake into a corner. It's riding out just about to redline. It is a really good transmission. It's just not the one I would want if I was shelling out whatever it is, 77 grand before tax for a track car that's missing that third pedal. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. You guys let me know what you think.